Hiya, Tug here from The Fishes and I. Hope this video finds you safe and well. Happy New Year. I'm not quite sure when the cut-off is for saying Happy New Year, but it's January 2021. And welcome to my little studio. This is Garden City Studio, I call it. It's where we pretty much write my songs and mix and master and record most of our songs. And today what I wanted to do is a pedal board and rig rundown of the gear I use or will be using this year, hopefully when we're back to playing live, and obviously what I use here in the studio. So background to the video is really over the past year or so, especially as we've not been playing live, we've had a chance to sort of sit down with a pedal board and sort of hone it and work on the sounds. I guess like every guitarist, we've got a sound in our heads and we sort of want to find our own voice on the guitar, I guess. So it's been a good chance to play with a few pedals, a few amp settings and different guitars, and come up with something I'm happy with. I think I've done it. I think I'm there, but as ever, it's always a work in progress. Are we ever happy? So I'm going to put up some pics of some previous boards I've done things that I've tried along the way, and some different pedals, and just generally how it's evolved over time. So as I approach this board, sort of my main constraints were that I wanted to keep it as compact as possible, because as you can see from some of the photos, some of the boards have been pretty big. One particular one was sort of 80 by 40, and it was great to have so many pedals on a board, but it was just too big. I wasn't bringing it back to the studio. There's no space in the studio to put that sort of size pedal board, so I wasn't using it. It was being left at the rehearsal studios with the band rehearses, and yeah, it was just too big. So we're not a band that's playing Wembley. We're playing small venues and clubs and what have you. So I found with such a deep pedal board, it was problematic with the microphone stand, and generally, because of the depths of the stages, half the time one step back I've got a drum kit up my arse basically. So yeah, so this video is a little rundown. Strap in, grab a beer, because if you're a pedal nerd like me and gear nerd like me, I hope you enjoy it. It's my first sort of video like this, so go easy in the comments. But yeah, strap in and we'll get going with it. Okay, so what I thought would be best, first, if I run through the setup and signal flow of what you're hearing. I'm going to use my Fender Tele today. Then obviously through my pedal board, which goes then into my 2 amps. So I'll run a wet dry rig, or dual mono rig basically. The Tone King Imperial Mark II, that's my dry amp, and then my little Bugera V22 Infinium is my wet amp. Now what I've done, I've set up a Rhodes NT1A just in the room, so I haven't closed mic'd, just a room mic. So I wanted to sort of try and do it so you hear what I hear, kind of thing. So from there it goes into the Antelope Audio Synergy 4, and then through the DAW back into the Synergy, and then through that funny little red lead which leads then onto the end of my phone. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, just wanted to try and capture it as I hear it. And there's the essential beer. Okay, so I thought I'd run through just a quick the signal flow. I promise we'll jump into some noises and some sounds in a minute. So the board itself is I've just made it out of MDF. Admittedly not quite Schmidt array, but kind of stole some of the ideas. I like the hinge idea, so that I could house all the power supply but still get access to it. But where the pedals kind of overlap, it sort of saved me foot space. I believe it's about 55 centimeters by about 30, I believe. So yeah, because it's I'll start with the power supply. I've used the Gig Rig power generator, the distributor, to the isolators, the Time Lords. Obviously, the best people to go through that is the Pedal Show guys. Obviously, Dan makes is the Gig Rig. You know, fucking dog in the background, fucking yappy bastard thing. So anyway, yeah, that'd be better to explain it, but I might well do a video on power supplies and things, and best advices and things like that. Cables, again, I'll go through that maybe in another video. I've used the Boss cables there. I found them really efficient, but can't say enough good things about the Gig Rig stuff. It says you think it's going to be good, but it is better than what you think. It's lovely and quiet. Really pleased with it. I've used several different power supplies. As I say, I'll go perhaps a different video on that. So okay, the wet and dry rig, I've got the both channels on the ABY from the Gig Rig as well, and I use also the Quartermaster. Now the signal flow is this cable here is the guitar in. It travels through there and goes straight back out. Oops, press that on. So that it goes straight back out. So should I want it in the studio and just want to go straight into the interface, I can do. I can just literally go straight in. So I wanted to keep this as versatile as possible. But for intents and purposes, when I'm playing live, as I say, I play the wet dry rig. So what happens, the signal goes through, hits number 5, and then gets sent to the ABY. Now the dry signal goes straight out of B into the Tone King. The A channel goes off to the wet amp, or what it actually does is goes back to number 5, and then from there goes back out there where you can see my hand. So that's the lead going off to the wet amp. So I hope that kind of makes sense. So basically everything before 5 will go to both amps. The 6 channel there basically accesses this top row, which can only go to the big area, the wet amp. So it's basically my modulation, delay, reverb, and then the looper pedal. So I hope that kind of makes sense, the flow of it. I'll show you more when I'm plugged in. Righto, so first on, so as I was explaining, I've got to engage 5 to work both amps. I'll put just the dry amp on, so B is just a dry amp and this is just a clean signal. So as you can hear, it's pretty clean, the amp. I must admit I've had to heavily attenuate the Tone King and the Bagheera. I've already had a text off the missus saying it's turn it down, and I don't really want to piss off the neighbours, so it's not at sort of volumes that I would gig at. Pretty quiet. So the first what I do is I'll put on the Tumnus, so that's into channel 3 there. It's not an always on pedal, but most of the time it's on. What I love about this pedal, it's a pedal that it's based on the Klon, as you probably know. I just like the way it cleans up, you know. I can go pretty light picking and it sounds really nice clean. If I dig in, obviously when the amp's louder it pushes the tubes a bit more and breaks up a bit more. So that's just the clean side. sorry, the dry sound or the dry amp. What I quite often do is use the Bugera or the wet amp as like a boost, if you like, as just thickens up the sound a bit. Whether this will translate over YouTube and how we've got it set up, I'm not sure, but so off. Hopefully you'll be able to hear that. It kind of just gives it a bit more of a rounder sound, fuller sound. So quite often be playing one of our songs and then kick in that on a chorus perhaps. If I want a bit more welly, then I'll bring in the Beano Boost, Analog Man Beano Boost. That's on channel 1. So that's basically just pushing the signal a bit harder into the tumnus, which sort of saturates that pedal a bit more. I've had to put that first in the chain because it really doesn't like the buffer before it. I think what I might do is do a video over the individual pedals and show you more how I use them and how I sort of set up my gain staging. Whether that's something that might interest you, obviously let us know in the comments. So yeah, basically the Beano's really just to boost for that bit extra. So yeah, it gives you a bit of an idea of that one. Second channel opens up the buffer, which in its own loop it has the Kali 76 compressor on, Origin Effects, a brilliant compressor. Again, I could go through that with a bit more detail, but I've got it set very, very subtly. Again, whether this will come through or not. So I've still got the tumnus on. Whether that comes through or not, but basically to my ear what that's doing is again just giving it a bit more sustain. So on especially, not that I take many leads because our other guitarist is the lead guitarist, but now again I'll play a lead or a line that just needs a bit more compression and a bit more sustain on the notes, and it's a brilliant pedal for that, best compressor I've tried. Yeah, really happy with that. Again, I can go through that in a more thorough video. The buffer, as I say, it's got the loop, but also coming off of the buffer is the pedal, the tuner pedal, sorry. So you see where now I hit a note. If I want to sort of on stage and I want to tune quietly, then it's still on, but I just press the boost button down and I can tune. Really, I quite like this pedal. Again, if I'm playing a different guitar, it might have hotter pickups. It's got capabilities of taking the level down. Again, as I say, I'll go through that more thoroughly in another video, perhaps, if anybody is interested. So that's pretty much the gain staging. Apart from then the dynamic. Now this is one I've kind of settled on. I always find it hard. We're not a heavy band, but we do play some heavier riffs and what have you, so it's nice to have a distortion stroke fuzz on the board. And the Vertex one, this dynamic distortions, I quite like it. I tend to play it on the lead channel of the Tone King, so I'm just going to flip the channel over. So this is the clean sound of the lead channel on the Tone King. I'll just take, it's kind of more of a Fender Tweed sound, but when I put on the distortion, so that with the Bugera as well. sounds nice with that. Even more of a saturated sound, sort of getting it more into fuzz territory if I put the tumnus on with it. So without the tumnus, with the tumnus. So it gives you an idea on that one. And then on to channel 6. So this is the top row of the pedal board. This is all the modulation, so from the Wampler. Phase 95, basically I've kept that on despite having phaser on the Wampler Terraform. As good a pedal as it is, and I use it more of a writing tool, so for giving it different flavours like flanger and univibe. I say the tremolo is really good on it, the harmonic tremolo is really good on it. The Phase 95 is just, it's got something to it. I just can't get the same sound out of the Terraform, so the Phase 95 has stayed on the board. Now, as I say, I'm not much of a lead guitarist, but when I do take a lead, I quite often use the Phase 95 as kind of a false wah sound, whether that makes sense. I think there's a few guitarists do it. So I put the Beano and this Beano and the tumnus on. So this is a kind of like lead tone. That's the delay pedal. Nemesis is a brilliant delay pedal. That's pretty much every delay. It's a preset that I've got that I usually play on put on for leads. I'm no lead guitarist, but before Steve, our now lead guitarist, used to take a few leads when we was just a 3-piece. But yeah, this is the sort of sound. This is where I tend to put on the compressor as well, just to fill out the sound a bit more. So yeah, that's kind of how I use the Phase 95. Now the Hall of Fame that I have got on the board, I mainly use it for one setting. It's the shimmer setting. Yeah, and what's really cool, whether you know about the TC pedals or the newer versions, they've got this mash switch, so it's basically like an expression pedal built in. It's amazing. So really clever. It's pretty much the only setting I use really. I don't really use too much reverb. The amps have got a tiny bit running on them, but other than that I don't really use reverb an awful lot. That's a particular song we use it. The looper pedal, I obviously for practicing and noodling in here, then it's a really handy pedal. Obviously I'm sure you're aware what a looper does. Live, what we tend to do, I usually have, if we've got like a little synth pad or something that plays before a song or mid song, I can program it in and just have that running through there, press it on, let it play, and then come off on 6 to then kick in with the song, whatever it calls for. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. So I might could do another video of more in depth into these pedals, why I chose these pedals, what other pedals I've tried maybe. Yeah, let us know in the comments if you'd like to see a video on that. And then maybe a video on sort of the amp settings and why I chose these amps. But yeah, so anyway, I'll play out with a little tune or something, and please like and subscribe, and hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and I'll hopefully see you soon.